First, activists on a boat carrying aid to Gaza have been forced to surrender after their vessel was boarded by the Israeli military in international waters. Quadcopters are believed to have surrounded the vessel. These are pictures from the boat just a few minutes ago where activists were told to take cover. Climate campaigner Greta Thunberg and 11 other activists are on board before communication was cut. The group was aiming to break Israel's siege on the Strip, a blockade that's illegal under international law. So this is the moment the activists and those on board the MADLEEN ship surrendered to Israeli authorities.
We're being boarded right now. We're being intercepted right now.
Please everyone.
تخبرنا بأن نرفع أيدينا في هذه اللحظات حتى
Added to the long list of war crimes that Israel has been committing.
We are being intercepted right now. We have one IOF speedboat coming our way. Everyone here is safe. No one is wounded right now.
الجميع لحد الآن لم يتعرض إلى إصابة. حافظوا على مواقعكم.
Please raise the alarm.
من فضلكم ارفعوا أيديكم.
Okay, we are being intercepted right now.
قالوا لنا وطلبوا منا
If I can manage to throw in the water, I have both in my hands. They are here to intercept us. The boat
Okay,
strike, but
everyone, phones need to go. Phones need to go, please. Toss it in the water.
أخبرونا بأنه مع السلامة مشاهدين.
Well, just before the ship was boarded, an Israeli Navy spokesperson had this message for the crew of the MADLEEN.
The maritime zone of the coast of Gaza is closed to naval traffic as part of a legal naval blockade. If you wish to deliver humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, you are able to do so through the port of Ashdod via the established channels and distribution centers.
Let's bring in Houeda Araf, who's the co-founder of International Solidarity Movement and the Freedom Flotilla organizer, live for us from Sicily. So, Houeda, we were following very closely what was going on with the MADLEEN, and then I think all communications were just cut. So we lost our connection, but I understand that the Israelis boarded the vessel, and presumably those on board have now been arrested. What have you heard?
Yes, approximately an hour ago, we lost connection with our colleagues on the MADLEEN. They were approximately 110 nautical miles from the shores of Gaza. Before we lost connection with them, we know that two drones at least were hovering above the ship, and they had dropped or sprayed some kind of white chemical, a paint-looking substance on the vessel. And then we noticed the vessel being surrounded. We heard reports of quadcopters also. We could not see them, but we know that the vessel was surrounded, and it looked like the commandos, Israeli commandos, were getting ready to board just as we lost all connection with the vessel. So as of right now, yes, 12 international civilians on a lawful mission, lawfully sailing in international waters, have been illegally intercepted, violently boarded, and abducted by Israeli forces.
I imagine
we are concerned for their safety.
Of course, I imagine you foresaw that this would happen. So what steps are now being taken to try and contact the crew?
We have lost contact with the crew. We doubt very much, based on prior experience, that we will be able to regain that contact with the crew. They are likely under Israeli control right now, and in previous missions where Israel has violently attacked our vessels, they have used brute force, injured people, at best just detained and handcuffed, but at worst they also killed 10 of our volunteers. We don't know the status. We don't know if our colleagues are safe right now, but what we do know is Israel had no legal authority to intercept this peaceful vessel. I heard that a military spokeswoman was talking about enforcing a maritime blockade. This maritime closure of Gaza is illegal. It has been illegal because it is designed to persecute, punish an entire civilian population. The entire world sees that Israel is deliberately starving civilians. That kind of blockade cannot be justified under any law. And because this blockade is illegal, Israel has no right to intercept any peacefully sailing vessel. And we were sailing in international waters, sailing towards Palestinian territorial waters where Israel has no lawful jurisdiction. So any way you look at it, this is unlawful action taken by Israel. And it is really rich for the military spokeswoman to be talking about legal channels to deliver aid to Gaza. The entire world sees that Israel is deliberately starving Gaza. And the very fact that we had to be out at sea in this way, carrying baby formula to try to stave off the starvation of babies in Gaza, is because Israel is starving them and our governments aren't doing anything about it.
You say baby formula. Just tell us more about the cargo that the MADLEEN was taking and what the purpose and objective was.
Of course. The MADLEEN, as you can see, is a small vessel. It can't carry anywhere near what the people of Gaza need, but we did fill it with as much humanitarian cargo as we could carry. So there was baby formula and nappies for baby. There was rice, a lot of rice and flour and food that has been donated by the people of Sicily, of Italy, where we launched the MADLEEN from. We also had medical supplies, crutches, prosthetics for children. Most of it, again, not even a drop in 5 oceans of what Gaza needs. But what we were saying with this mission is Israel's entire blockade is unlawful, and we can't sit by while a genocidal entity is allowed to determine what gets in to a people that they are trying to exterminate. That is unacceptable to us. And it is these big organizations with their aid waiting at Rafah in truckloads that should be driving through. It is our governments that also should be putting aid on ships and forcing their way through this unlawful blockade. But they aren't doing it. And so we got on the MADLEEN and we are trying to do it. And we hope that others will follow. What we do know is Israel's violence will not stop us. They've used violence against us before, but we cannot give in to violence. And so we will be back, and we encourage others to join us. Right now, we're focused on trying to ascertain the safety and well-being of those civilians as we campaign to prepare another mission and to continue calling on the forces that can stop Israel's brutality to do so. Stop allowing Israel to trample all over international law, to exterminate a people before the eyes of the world, to attack humanitarian workers trying to deliver humanitarian aid. This is just an assault on our humanity, and we will not stand for it. I will just add one more thing. And while we are outraged at the humanitarian catastrophe that Israel has created, and we are trying to deliver humanitarian aid, Gaza and Palestine is not a humanitarian issue. It is a crisis and an issue of human rights, of a people being denied their freedom and dignity. Palestinian people don't want to live on aid. They can get their own food. Our governments must stop complicity with their occupiers, their oppressors, and their genociders.
Huwaida, we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us here on Al Jazeera and giving us the very latest situation with the MADLEEN. Huwaida Araf there. Thank you. Well, let's hear from Francesca Albanese, who's the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. And she spoke to us on the phone from Tunis about the moment she lost communication with the ship.
Look, it's quite shocking because I've been on the phone with the captain for on and off for over the period of 2 hours. So I was talking to them to try to just to check how they were doing when 5 speedboats encircled the boat. So this is when the alarm was given. And they asked me to be on call and to record everything because, of course, everything could go wrong. And then things seemed to be quiet till two quadcopters reached the boat. In the beginning, the team thought that they were drones, simple drones. Then when they identified that they were quadcopters, so the machines that can shoot and kill, they went undercover and they didn't move since. And after about 30 minutes, I received another call. They had been intercepted. The soldiers were getting on the boat. I heard the crew being ordered to stay calm, just to keep their hands up. And I was talking to the captain when the line was cut. So I think they are now the MADLEEN has been taken, and they were probably being taken to Ashdod.
Well, before the boat was intercepted, activists recorded messages urging their governments to act, and one of them was the Swedish activist Greta Thunberg.
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
That is Greta Thunberg there. Let's speak to Moen Rabbani, who's the co-editor of Jadalia and fellow at the Centre for Conflict and Humanitarian Studies, joins us now from Montreal. Hi there, Moen. So I'm sure, like all of us, that you've been following developments on the MADLEEN very, very closely as she was at sea heading for Gaza and then intercepted, and we presume everybody on board has been arrested, but we have heard nothing, so we're not sure precisely what's happened at this point in time. But what do you make of it all? How do you assess the situation?
Well, let's be clear. If any other state had sent its military forces to seize a small civilian boat carrying 12 unarmed civilians to deliver food, baby formula, and crutches to a besieged population, it would immediately be recognized for the act of state piracy that it indisputably is, and would be roundly denounced. But for Israel, there's always an exception. This is not only an act of state piracy, it's in direct violation of the provisional measures ordered by the International Court of Justice on multiple occasions in 2024, emphasizing the need for the unhindered delivery of humanitarian supplies to the besieged population of the Gaza Strip. It's also a war crime. And it's just flabbergasting that here you have a crew of 12. The captain is a Dutch citizen. Most of the passengers are French citizens. There's a Swedish citizen, a member of the European Parliament. And what do we hear from their governments? Absolute silence, because Israeli impunity has become a central foundation of their foreign policy. And, you know, it's just beyond words. And I think what's of particular concern is the campaign of vilification and demonization of these civilians on this vessel, and Greta Thunberg in particular, who has been smeared as a jihadist, as a terrorist, as a Nazi, as a Hamas operative, and so on. And given the absolute genocidal hysteria in Israel, and particularly among its armed forces, particularly during the past 2 years, I think there must be very, very real concerns about the welfare, indeed about the lives of these passengers. But we appear to hear not a single peep from those governments that claim to protect the rights of their own citizens, of international law, and all the rest of it.
So what do you think? I mean, given everything that we've witnessed and Israel's ability to act with impunity in international waters, dealing with this, as you describe, these multiple nationalities of those on board, what will it take for the international community to react in a way that you would deem fit?
I suspect we've reached the stage where Israel can do literally anything, can do literally everything, and there will be no response from any of these Western governments. They appear to have dug in their heels, that Israel will enjoy impunity, that there will be no accountability, and that when really backed into a corner, they will make statements of concern, statements of alarm, perhaps even the occasional statement of condemnation, but crucially, it will not be accompanied by any meaningful change in policy towards Israel. And it's perfectly understood, first and foremost by Israel, that when it is confronted only with statements, that these statements are absolutely meaningless and they are designed to be safely ignored.
And meanwhile, the horror on the ground in Gaza just continues.
Well, that's precisely it. I mean, we've had now daily massacres at these so-called aid distribution centers, which one official has described really as having been transformed into human abattoirs. And again, not a peep from any of those who are either responsible for these facilities or who are continuing to give Israel their more or less unconditional support as it engages what virtually everyone who has looked into this has already concluded is a genocide. People are no longer waiting for the formal ruling of the International Court of Justice several years into the future. I think that ruling is already a foregone conclusion. But as Huwaida Arraf, your previous guest, said, we are dealing with a live stream genocide. And the Western governments have taken a decision to either look the other way or to send weapons so that it can continue to be prosecuted, and in some cases, to loudly applaud what is happening.
Moen, we'll leave it there. Do appreciate your analysis. Thanks very much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Moen Rabbani speaking to us there from Montreal. Thank you.